Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda. Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Om 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 Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Om
Nithyanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrusham Tattvamasyaadilakshyam Ekam Nityam Vimalam Achalam Sarvadi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavaditam Triguna-rahitam Sadgurum Tam Namah.
Beautiful relationships in your life. We get you direct spiritual support and we make sure you become wealthy. We won't stop giving you just good life. We will literally not stop till you live enlightened life. Manifesting the state of Paramashiva, space of Paramashiva, powers of Paramashiva, being of Paramashiva. whole world should become Kailasian.
I want
the representation of the Kailasa nation at the United Nations. And we had the permanent representative of Kailasa at the United Nations in Geneva addressing UN. And today we have invited the permanent representative to come and address all of us. But before that, let's take a quick look at the speech given by the permanent representative of the United Nations of Kailasa at the United Nations on behalf of Supreme Court of Hinduism and Kailasa. Let's watch this video.
Madam Chairperson, esteemed delegates and colleagues, I represent Kailasa Nation led by Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Sri Nithyananda Paramashivam, which speaks on behalf of 2 billion Hindus around the world who do not have a voice representing them in these international forums. I want to specifically bring to light the attack on minority Hindu traditions. Hinduism, as people know, is not a single monolithic religion, but it's made up of thousands of unique Enlightenment ecosystems which are called sampradayas. In recent times, many Hindu gurus, Hindu minority traditions and temples have come under attack by majority ideologies, and a large number of traditions have virtually disappeared. There has been no recognition of the attacks by international human rights groups, as in these cases it is difficult for outsiders to distinguish the attackers from the attacked. For the past 10 years, the Kailasa Nation and SPH Sri Nithyananda Paramashivam have been attacked and silenced in India as a religious minority, as a linguistic minority, and because extremist elements are opposed to Kailasa's stance when it comes to the rights of women, including marginalized Dalit women and the rights of members of the LGBTQ and transgendered communities. In 2019, Kailasa approached the OHCHR presenting the case of persecution, and when this document reached the Indian media, a very well-funded defamation campaign was started by news sources which were supportive of the Union government, alleging treason and sedition on part of the Kailasa Nation. A number of false cases were subsequently registered against Kailasa leaders, and one of our university campuses for women in the state of Gujarat was razed to the ground in a matter of days by mobs along with the local government. Kailasa has since submitted a number of reports on the persecution to various forums available within the UN, but not much action has been taken. In June 2021, Kailasa made a submission on the attacks of ASMT women in the session by the UN Committee on Elimination of Discrimination Against Women on the rights of indigenous women, and further submitted reports how to end femicide and on gender justice. Later in September, Kailasa's report on media disinformation in India, which is a big problem, was accepted by the Special Rapporteur for the right to freedom of opinion and expression. Madam Chairperson, esteemed delegates and colleagues, I represent Kailasa Nation led by Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Sri Nithyananda Paramashivam, which speaks on behalf of 2 billion Hindus around the world who do not have a voice representing sampradayas. In recent times, many Hindu gurus, Hindu minority traditions and temples have come under attack. Majority ideologies and a large number of traditions have virtually disappeared. There has been no recognition of the attacks by international human rights groups, as in these cases it is difficult for outsiders to distinguish the attackers from the attacked. For the past 10 years, the Kailasa Nation and SPH Sri Nithyananda Paramashivam have been attacked and silenced in India as a religious minority, as a linguistic minority, and because extremist elements are opposed to Kailasa's stance when it comes to the rights of women, including marginalized Dalit women and the rights of members of the LGBTQ and transgender communities. In 2019, Kailasa approached the OHCHR presenting the case of persecution, and when this document reached the Indian media, a very well-funded defamation campaign was started by news sources which were supportive of the union government, alleging treason and sedition on part of the Kailasa nation. A number of false cases were subsequently registered against Kailasa leaders, and one of our university campuses for women in the state of Gujarat was razed to the ground in a matter of days by mobs along with the local government. Kailasa has since submitted a number of reports on the persecution to various forums available within the UN, but not much action has been taken. In June 2021, Kailasa made a submission on the attacks of ASMT women in the session by the UN Committee on Elimination of Discrimination Against Women on the rights of indigenous women, and further submitted reports how to end femicide and on gender justice. Later in September, Kailasa's report on media disinformation in India, which is a big problem, was accepted by the Special Rapporteur for the right to freedom of opinion and expression. Madam Chairperson, esteemed delegates and colleagues, I represent Kailasa Nation led by Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Sri Nithyananda Paramashivam, which speaks on behalf of 2 billion Hindus around the world who do not have a voice representing them in these international forums. I want to specifically bring to light the attack on minority Hindu traditions. Hinduism, as people know, is not a single monolithic religion, but it's made up of thousands of unique Enlightenment ecosystems, which are called sampradayas. In recent times, many Hindu gurus, Hindu minority traditions, and temples have come under attack by majority ideologies, and a large number of traditions have virtually disappeared. There has been no recognition of the attacks by international human rights groups, as in these cases, it is difficult for outsiders to distinguish the attackers from the attacked. For the past 10 years, the Kailasa Nation and HDH Sri Nithyananda Paramashivam have been attacked and silenced in India as a religious minority, as a linguistic minority, and because extremist elements are opposed to Kailasa's stance when it comes to the rights of women, including marginalized Dalit women and the rights of members of the LGBTQ and transgender communities. In 2019, Kailasa approached the OHCHR presenting the case of persecution, and when this document reached the Indian media, a very well-funded defamation campaign was started by news sources which were supportive of the union government, alleging treason and sedition on part of the Kailasa nation. A number of false cases were subsequently registered against Kailasa leaders, and one of our university campuses for women in the state of Gujarat was razed to the ground in a matter of days by mobs along with the local government. Kailasa has since submitted a number of reports on the persecution to various forums available within the UN, but not much action has been taken. In June 2021, Kailasa made a submission on the attacks of ASMT women in the session by the UN Committee on Elimination of Discrimination Against Women on the rights of indigenous women, and further submitted reports how to end femicide and on gender justice. Later in September, Kailasa's report on media disinformation in India, which is a big problem, was accepted by the Special Rapporteur for the right to freedom.
Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham.
Yes. Now, after watching this video, an address at the United Nations Geneva for a conference that was representing the voice of 2 billion Hindus worldwide, representing Kailasa, and representing the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, the Ambassador of Kailasa, and the permanent representative of Kailasa to the United Nations, Sri Nithyananda, addressed the gathering. And we have invited Sri Nithyananda to come and share his experience at the United Nations with all of us. Nithyananda Maya. And Nithyananda Maya, can you please unmute yourself?
Sorry about that. Can you hear me, ma'am?
Yes, yeah. So could you please share what is it that you would like to share after this historic event that happened, representing Kailasa, representing the Hindu nation, and the Hindu nation for the very first time having its representation at the United Nations, our voice being heard. This was a fulfillment for 2 billion Hindus worldwide. And how does it feel for you? And what would you like to share about it?
Yes, ma'am, it was a very exciting week for us in the world, and exciting week for the UN, because they got to hear Swamiji's message for the first time directly. And I think the UN is blessed that they're able to finally hear from him directly after so many years. So I think it's a great week for the world and for them and for minority rights. So this conference was specifically on minority rights. And of course, Hindus are the largest unrepresented minorities, falsely shown to be a majority, but we are lots and lots of minorities, and minorities who have no representation. And the UN got to hear that. So I think that's a great step forward for the world. And by recognizing Kailasa as a nation and allowing it to be presented, the UNHCR and the UN OHCHR, which is the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, they have taken a big step forward for themselves and for the world. And I say it's a big step forward because more than us presenting our persecution, which is the way it started, the important thing was that we got to hear about all these stories of persecution happening around the world, right? Basically, Armenians in Azerbaijan, Turkey, and Kurds in Iraq and Turkey, in Syria, Tamils in Sri Lanka. I mean, there were 1,500 submissions from around the world of minorities who are facing persecution. And it seems to be the story everywhere. I mean, from the US, Canada, you think in many of these countries there is no persecution, but it really is. If you are an African American in the US or Native American, the kind of discrimination and you have to face is really enormous, right? So hearing those stories, what I really Sorry, can you hear me? I thought I got muted. Yeah, no?
Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda.
Nithyananda? Sorry for the technical glitch. I hope you can hear me now. Basically, apart from us presenting our persecution in the UN, what we got to realize was that persecution is happening everywhere. I mean, there were 1,500 stories of submissions of persecution in all countries: US, Canada, Turkey, Iraq, Syria, Sri Lanka, and of course, many countries in Asia. And that seems to be the story of all nations. And the answer to that, it just hit us, was what Swamiji has and what he has always talked about, which is the Vedagamic tradition and the concept of Jati and Varnas. For all the rest of the world, minorities are an exception. Majority is the way they look at the world. Like, everybody is the same. And then, there's some people who are minorities, and they are unfortunately there. We have to somehow take care of them. Hinduism has been all about minorities. In sense, Hinduism is nothing but minority rights. It's about human rights, rights of each individual, and rights of each community to live their life as they want it, while at the same time holding them up to integrity and authenticity, enriching and responsibility. So the combination of keeping people integrated at the same time giving them ultimate freedom is what is Hinduism. So that's why Hinduism has got so many minority groups, because it thrives on that. It thrives on pluralism. It is not about minority rights. It's about celebrating pluralism. And Swamiji has talked about this for so many times. And I think it'll be best if we can hear from his voice of how the Hindu way of living is so ultimate, and it provides the greatest opportunity for people and for communities to coexist, to thrive, and to excel, and to move towards enlightenment. So if you can just play that, I think.
The Hindu Varnashrama Dharma is the most beautiful science developed for a best stable society. At some time, the most life positive visionaries of the world, if they gather and sit and do research for 100 years, I tell you, the corona is destroying the old world order. Within next 3 years, the new world order is going to evolve. I hope the life positive, pro-life visionaries are going to gather, think and develop pro-life vision, life positive vision for humanity. And that vision will be simply Varnashrama Dharma of Manu, translated in modern language. I guarantee the rishis and smritikaras, Dharma Shastra, Dharma Sutra, adhikaris, authors of Hinduism are the most life positive, pro-life. Even in administering law and maintaining the social order, and protecting the women and children, protecting vulnerable people of the society in every level, the kind of the life positivity the rishis of the Vedic tradition, visionaries of the Vedic tradition, smritikaras of Hinduism. When I started studying the original verses without Max Muller's interpretation and distortion, I just fell for Paramashiva, the greatest visionary humanity ever has seen. I tell you guys, every principle is so life positive. I really beg Hindus, please read your original scriptures. Svalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate magato bayat. Even if you start reading, studying, internalizing, practicing little bit, Svalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bayat. Even if you practice, study little bit, so much of life negativity will be removed from your life.
Yes, Mokshapranaya, what would you like to, like what Swamiji revealed? And the Swamiji's revelation and how Kailasa has come out today, representing the voice of 2 billion Hindus worldwide. What would you like to share about that? You are muted, Aya.
So fundamentally, Hindus have not been represented because Hindus are all minorities. There is no majority Hindu group. We are all minorities. And because only majorities sit and talk in these forums, we have not been represented. But today, we have come together under the umbrella of Swamiji. And that has given the voice for all the Hindus to present themselves. So it's taken that universal view, just like Krishna brought together all the groups of traditions under the principles of yoga, just like Paramashiva got together all the principles of Tantra in Vijnana Bhairava Tantra, and Shankara brought together all the different religions, and Shanmada, Swamiji has brought together every tradition for this yoga together under the umbrella of Sanatana Hindu Dharma. And as a single voice, we are able to then talk to the world and show to them that we have something to contribute to them. And that, I think, is an exciting moment for the to see how everybody is waiting for what message Swamiji has come with, right? And this is just one of the thousands and millions of things that he has come with. But this will solve 99% of all conflicts that exist in the world today. And just to imagine, what else each of the other things that he is providing is going to do to the world, it is really, really exciting, right? So I feel it's a great moment for the world, and hopefully they will listen, and that will provide a breakthrough in this field of minority rights, and in general to provide a world which is completely different from the one which exists now, which is all based on poverty and fight and scarcity and war. The whole mentality goes behind that. The entire money system, the power system is all based on consolidation, grabbing, scarcity mentality, from which to move towards a world which is based on abundance and self-sufficiency and powerfulness. That is going to make the big difference. So that is the only thing that's going to make a difference. All the other things that people are trying are all like, you got a fracture and you're trying to take a band-aid and put on it and hoping that it will heal. And, you keep trying different bandages for the last 50, 60, 70 years, or whichever time the UN has been around. but the solution is at hand, and people will only have to listen to it. So that's that. I think that's pretty much.
So beautifully said, Moksha Priyanaya. And we have Lakshmi, our YouTube viewer, who's saying a real milestone for Hindus, and that's the greatness of our Bhagavan. Absolutely, Lakshmi Ma, we cannot, share how fulfilled each of us felt when we just saw the address of Kailasa Nation at the United Nations. I'm sure all of you who are watching us on YouTube, please do go ahead and share how you feel. Being a part of Hindu Nation, being a part of Kailasa, which has now gotten the a platform at the UN to be able to share the voice of 2 billion Hindus worldwide, thanks to the relentless effort of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. Even though forcibly sent in exile, even though illegally cancelled citizenship, with so much of hate speech and media persecution and whatnot, what Supreme Pontiff has given back to humanity, what the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has done to each and every Hindu worldwide, where we were never allowed to even share our persecution. Our persecution was unknown even to us, forget about the international community. So the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has taken the responsibility of the Hindu nation. And today we are celebrating the success. We are celebrating a historic moment for humanity as such, because the Hindu nation has a representation at the UN. And Moksha Priyanaya, how does it feel to be a part of this historic moment, representing Kailasa and representing the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism? How does it feel for you?
Yeah, I mean, there's no greater honor than representing Swamiji. That's the ultimate that you can ever achieve. So it's something phenomenal, and then to do it in front of the world is something really, really rare and privileged. To do that, to happen to be in that place, to have presented what he had to say. Yeah, so it's really an honor, and it's lucky that I was there at the time to present his message. So that's what it is. Yeah. But again, like going back and forth to the same point, the thing that I felt honored was that, unlike other people who are coming to the UN for solutions, we were going there not with, we were going there to present our problems, but we realized that, they are not like we are having the problems, we are having the solutions. So that was, I think, a great revelation that we have. So it's not like we are going there with, saying, okay, we are troubled and help us. We are saying that we know what to do. Do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a beautiful cognitive shift. Yeah. Of course, the other name of solution is Bhagavan Sri Nithyananda Paramashivam, and Swamiji is here. And in terms of just representing and just being a part of this huge movement, how it all started, with 26 years of relentless service of Swamiji. And Saurav Aneja on YouTube is saying, a great milestone for Swamiji, sincere uniting hard work to uplift humanity. And we have many of our viewers saying, Susan Davidson from Canada saying, this is a historic moment for Kailasa and humanity. The Hindu ecosystem is a model for humanity. So beautifully said, Susan. Hindu ecosystem is what we need everywhere to be replicated, and that is the divine mission of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, establishing these Kailasa enlightenment ecosystems all over the world. And Ma Durjati is saying, I cannot express how proud I am. My heart jumps with pride. And as an LGBTQ and a female and a multiracial disciple of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, especially knowing Sangha and Swamiji have gone through to get to the United Nations. And she says, I am brought to tears and my heart jumps with pride and excitement and love for Sanatana Hindu Dharma, seeing us in the United Nations representing the voice of 2 billion Hindus. Thank you very much, Ma Durjati, for your message. And we have Ma Prema Priyananda who's saying, I feel too proud and grateful for being a part of such a historical event. feeling inspired to take more and more responsibility to make this happen in my country. Too honored to be Swamiji's extension. And Devika Ma is saying it's a great moment. Bhagavan has enriched humanity continuously. And those of us who are watching this segment, I would sincerely recommend each and every one of you to share this virally. Let this reach the ears of 2 billion Hindus, and let this reach the ears of 7 billion population on the planet Earth. Because as Mokshapriya so rightly said, Hinduism is the solution. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is the solution for humanity, and Kailasa is the solution for humanity. So we are not going to the UN to solve our problems. Rather, we are going to the UN to provide solutions for the problems that the world is facing today. And the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had shared in a very recent satsang, whether it is climate change, whether it is global warming, Hinduism has a solution. Hinduism has a solution for all the major problems that the world is facing today, whether it is poverty, whether it is teenage related issues, whether it is crime rate, whether it is global warming, whether it is climate change, Hinduism has a solution. And it is high time the world listens to the voice of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and gets the solution to the world. Yes, and Mokshapriya, would you like to share anything more about in terms of how are we received at the UN when you first approached, and what was your experience just in terms of being there at the UN and also interacting with the people there, either of the other countries or of the officials of the UN as such? Anything you would like to share in that aspect? How different do you see Kailasa from all the other nations that are out there, in terms of how they carry themselves, in terms of what they represent, what they come to the UN for?
Like I said, essentially the countries are there for, see, basically the forum had two groups of people. One is NGOs who are protesting against the problems that they are facing, and then the countries that are trying to justify their actions, right? So it's more of a conflicting mode of operation, where people were trying to say that, you know, this country is oppressing us, and the country is saying, no, we're not oppressing you. In Tibet and China, for instance, or you know, Turkey with the Kurds. Kailasa was the one which, you know, where we had a solution, and we did offer many suggestions on how to protect minority, form a community. So individual, of course, has absolute right. You are Paramashivoham himself, but even as a community, you have the right to lead life as you want it, but not whatever you want, right? I mean, you cannot have a group which says that, you know, I can do divorce whenever I want, or I can ill-treat women because we believe in it. So there is also the concept of Varna, which has integrity, authenticity, responsibility, and enriching. So you need to be authentic, you need to be integrated, you need to work towards globally accepted principles of right and wrong, ahimsa. So these are all enforced globally as collective wisdom across all jatis. So it's not like, and each of them is striving towards the ultimate enlightenment and to move towards higher varnas, but with the realization that, okay, this is where we are at this point. So there is acceptance even of the fact that you have not yet achieved where you want to go, but there is a requirement that you acknowledge that, you know, we are wanting to move there. We want to go to a society where people are all empowered, that people are enlightened. So that is what essentially is Varna, and people, different groups have a right to be at different stages in that movement. But apart from that, in terms of practice, culture, you know, what dresses you wear, what jobs you do, ultimate freedom is given. I mean, you are in this jati, you have a right to do it. You know, if you, as long as you don't violate basic principles, you have the right to do anything that you want, you know, to express yourself in this world as you please, and to flower. So that is, I think, the solution that we had. But other than that, in a more practical terms, what we did note to the UN was the plight of Hindus in Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Afghanistan, for instance, where more than 85, the population is reduced by 85% in the last 70 years. I mean, it's phenomenal. It's gone from, 5 times reduced, right? So that's a huge problem that nobody is seeing, because the world looks at conflicts and violations as an instance. Okay, 100 people got killed. Suddenly there's a lot of noise about it and there's nothing. But over a period of 70 years, when slowly the population is attacked one by one by one, and to the extent that you have reduced to a fraction of what you were, such problems are never raised in these forums. And then that's something that we brought the attention of the UN to, that they should look into these population demographic changes. And even in India, from West Bengal, Kerala, and so on, and other countries like Malaysia, Sri Lanka, Nepal, these are problems that Hindus are facing, which nobody has even mentioned, leave alone discuss or find solutions to. So that, I think, was an important point that we made. And the other thing was that the subgroups, minority groups, needs to be looked into as a attack as opposed to reform. So there's this tendency to confuse for the majority group to think that they are reforming the minority group, when actually what they're doing is genocide and persecution. So many times when the minority group is not distinguishable that much from the majority group, it looks like, oh, there's some kind of a reform movement happening, when actually what they're doing is they are suppressing the minorities because they think they know what is correct. But actually what they're doing is taking their prejudices and their ignorance and imposing it on many times what is a much more enlightened group, like Sabrimala, for instance, where they had an enlightenment ecosystem, and many of the things that the world is not aware of, and then we brought that to the notice of people in the UN. The other things are precursors to genocide, things which are not obviously visible, like media trials, hate speech. These are all things that, making caricatures, they look like it is an internal thing, or it's a fun thing, people do it, but eventually it leads to genocide. And this is something that the world over people are realizing, what they call as early warning systems, to find out precursors for genocide and thing. And we have been directly faced this problem as Hindus, and where continuously Hindu customs are made fun of, continuously people are being ridiculed, and that is just the step that leads to make genocide justifiable. And people are already recognizing that, and we brought that to the attention. And the other thing about judicial overreach, judiciary listening to the media and overreaching into the customs of the minorities in the name of reform, right? So that's another big problem that in India, and certainly in many other parts of the world. So these are all the practical suggestions that we brought to the world, apart from the fundamental solutions that the Veda-agamic tradition provides to the problem of minorities in the first place, recognizing that there's nothing called minorities, there is only pluralism, and individuals who are fully empowered as the divinity themselves. I don't know if that's a too long an answer for what you asked, but
absolutely. I beautifully summarizes, what as Hinduism, how do we provide solution to various aspects, and how do we see as compared to the view that that is being imposed on us by the society, that we don't even know that there is an alternative view, there is an alternative solution, and that is Hinduism. And we have many of our viewers who are commenting continuously on the YouTube chat. And if you're watching this, you can leave your comments, you can leave, how do you feel listening to how Hinduism, what Swamiji is doing, how the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is literally providing solution and literally bringing every single persecution to limelight and standing as a voice for the 2 billion persecuted Hindus. Having been persecuted himself, here Swamiji is standing as a protection and as a voice for 2 billion persecuted Hindus worldwide. And many of us don't even know we are persecuted. We don't have a politically sovereign land. We don't have anything. We don't have our own Hindu scriptures being protected. We don't have that sovereignty. We don't have protection for our gurus. We don't have protection for our gurukul. Literally, Hinduism is getting destroyed from all corners. And the only solution, the only hope, the only ray of hope that we have is the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. And how beautifully the Supreme Pontiff is reviving the enlightened civilization. And reviving the whole way how Swamiji is reviving the whole ecosystem and establishing them all over the world. And in terms of standing for the protection of the minorities, and we had one of the Ragini Anand from UK had said that, you know, the protection of minorities is actually one of the biggest problems that the world is facing, and if you could solve that, that could solve everybody's problem, and Swamiji is leading the way in that. And we also have Moksha Premi. I just wanted to ask you one more. Could you also maybe bring to light the facts or the issues that Hindus are as a minority, the issues that we are facing in the world today?
Yes, ma'am. So one other point that I wanted to think is, like, you know, Swamiji doesn't have a solution to minorities. Swamiji has a solution where there are no minorities. All of us are minorities. Right? So the idea of majority itself is wrong, because that means you follow somebody else and it's a herd mentality and sheep. Individuals don't form such groups. We form groups just for the celebration of our experience. It's not that we need to have 10,000 people following us in order to enjoy our enlightenment. So the idea of majority minority itself is wrong, as opposed to saying that we have a solution for the minority problem. We feel minority is the reality of the universe. Problems of Hindus, like I said, see, fundamentally the problem of Hinduism is that we are not protecting ourselves. So we have no nation because we believed everything as our nation. But when everybody starts creating walls, and this structure that we are seeing today in this world has come about, Kailasa becomes a need, because it's a nation to end all nations in some sense, right? So the territorial nations are somebody just drawing a boundary and saying, hey, this is me, and you can't come inside, and, you know, I will control what happens here. Such a nation is is based on fear. It is created out of low inner image. Right? It's created out of not out of excitement, not out of wanting to share. So the civilizational nations which are borderless is the way the world should happen, because that happens out of excitement, out of wanting to share. And Kailasa, Swamiji has created as a civilizational nation. We have territory, we have boundaries, we have many territories, but fundamentally that is not our value add. We have those territories only to protect ourselves. But the vision of Kailasa is not that we have a piece of land somewhere. The vision of Kailasa is that we are everywhere, that the principles of Kailasa are adopted, and the current form of nations are de-recognized in some sense, and the nations are there only to celebrate whatever you want to celebrate. So it's not something that you want to exclude other people. It is an inclusive mechanism. So that's sort of the what Kailasa is for. But what Hindus are been suffering is because we have not protected this concept of freedom also needs protection. Right? Yes, we are inclusive, we are non-violent, but when the dharma is threatened, it is important to protect itself. That's the one line I think that Hindus have missed, and that has caused the entire amount of suffering that Hindus have faced in Pakistan and Bangladesh, for instance. They have been waiting and doing nothing till they have reached this point where they're almost going to disappear. And that's because of this idea of tolerance and the fact that they have to accommodate people. So you need to accommodate people who are accommodating, not people who are trying to destroy you. You need to stand up for that, and that's pretty much the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, and that's the summary Swamiji said of all. It's in fact, he called it a Shruti, which is directly unauthored voice of divinity and a summation of all Hinduism. And the first chapter he says is take your bow and fight. He does not say, let's sit and talk with somebody else and figure out what to do and so on and so forth, because that's already been done. So missing that line is the mistake that Hindus have done, and that's caused them suffering in all these countries, and certainly in India, because we are directly facing it, but much, much worse in many of the neighboring countries where they are almost close to extinction. And at this point, it has become almost an impossible task to protect them in Afghanistan, for instance, because there is no internal mechanism to protect it, and the external mechanisms are too weak to stand up to the nations, because all said and done, the United Nations is formed out of nations, not out of international cross-boundary forward-looking organizations. It's made out of nations still, so they are not able to operate against these nations which are persecuting. So that is, but the main problem that Hindus, I think, have been faced with, the main problems that with them was that they let the situation come to this point. Sorry, I think video got off. So that has been the cause, and the problems we've been facing in Pakistan, Bangladesh, and so on. The problems with India, again, is the fact that these small sampradayas have been attacked by media and by the judiciary. Using the media and judiciary, the mob incitement, and using and attacking, but in some sense, all of it is paid for by a group of people, and either directly or by paying the media, which in turn incites people against groups that they don't want, and they take on the groups one by one, and each is too small. I mean, this is pretty much what the British did for 400 years, and other invaders before that, the Islamic invasions and so on. You take each person one by one, and that others keep quiet when that particular sampradaya is attacked. When Sabarimala is attacked, ISKCON doesn't say anything. I'm sorry, I'm using that as an example, maybe they did, but when ISKCON is attacked, many other sampradayas keep quiet, because they think that, why do I have to get involved in this? And when finally they come for you, there is nobody else to look for, right? So that has been the story of the Hindus. And the first step is to realize that. The first step is that we are attacked as a group, and attacking one of the groups is the same as attacking you. And non-involvement in protection is the reason for us to come to this stage. So I think when Hindus understand this, there is enough intelligence and in the DNA, as Swamiji said, I mean, maybe not in the heads, but your DNA is already programmed with the strength and powers to act. And when this realization possibly reaches, there will be a shift in the position of Hindus.
Thank you, Mukshapriyanaya. So beautifully shared in terms of how Hindus today, we need to realize where we are. We need to realize what is happening to us. And we need to realize that we are literally, like Mukshapriyanaya said, 85% of the Hindu population has been reduced. This is unbelievable. And we are not even knowing this information, knowing these statistics, forget about doing something about it. So today, the Supreme Quantum of Hinduism has and is the only voice of 2 billion Hindus worldwide. And through Kailasa, not only reviving the Enlightenment ecosystems, we have published so many reports to the United Nations has published so many of the reports about the persecution of Hindus, about the persecution of Supreme Quantum of Hinduism, Kailasa, about the persecution of the women of Kailasa, and Kailasa has provided solution. The multilateralism is a solution for COVID, and has provided and is continuing to provide solutions for every global issue that the world is facing today. And so beautifully shared, Mukshapriyanaya, and we are going to be right back with all of you, dear viewers. Please stay tuned after a very short break.
We get you health. We get you ability to build beautiful relationships in your life. We get you direct spiritual support, and we make sure you become wealthy. We won't stop giving you just good life. We will literally not stop till you live enlightened life. Manifesting the state of Paramashiva, space of Paramashiva, powers of Paramashiva, being of Paramashiva. Whole world should become Kailasians.
I want the whole world to know Hindus have something great to contribute to the world. We have something great to contribute to the world. Let us do that.
Kailasa is proper customized spiritual service helping you to identify your root, every individual from every cultural, religious, nationality background. You will have lowest reactionary assumptions, highest awakened response, alive response for life continuously. Kailasa is enlightenment ecosystem, literally enlightenment itself in your own home, wherever you are. Proper customized spiritual service helping you to complete with your life negativity, withdrawal from life, self-hatred, self-denial, self-doubt, so much of tiredness, laziness. We can support you aligning your diet, your attitude, your aptitude, your understanding about life. We can help you with everything. If you are interested in enlightenment, we will immediately bring this to you. If you are not interested, we will explain the whole science, inspire you, and make you interested in enlightenment time. We need to cater this enlightenment science to the whole world wherever they are, because enlightenment is the birthright of all human beings. Kailasa is responsible to provide that to all human beings. Kailasa is the totality of the knowledge I received from my gurus and practice manifested in my life, perfected by teaching millions of people from all cultures, time zones, backgrounds, genders, nationality, race, from every creed. So this absolutely perfected knowledge available to you, served to you in your home without even you moving out of your couch, free of cost. What I mean by the word Kailasa, listen intensely. Enlightenment ecosystem, literally enlightenment itself, in your own home, wherever you are. If you cannot come to Kailasa, it's okay. Kailasa can come to you. Kailasa coming to you is Kailasa.
I will revive Hinduism. I am a Hindu revivalist, not by any revolution, but by evolution. And setting model communities. Kailasas, enlightenment ecosystems, Sarvanya Pitas all over the world.
All powerful cognition, knowledge, only when you live, power manifestation and possibilities manifestation happen. This is a fundamental truth.
Hinduism cannot live exclusively as one sampradaya. No. All sampradayas of Hinduism is an ecosystem. So don't keep quiet thinking that if one sampradaya is attacked, only that sampradaya is going to be affected. All of us are ecosystem.
I invite all of you to get involved and enjoy Hinduism by the principle of Dharmo Rakshati Rakshitaha. When you protect Dharma, Dharma protects you.
We will make the whole planet flourish spiritually. The spiritual prosperity will happen to the whole planet Earth. We all have to coexist together.
Just be alive for next 3 years. Don't die within next 3 years. Just don't die within next 3 years. Be alive. Somehow be alive. I'm working sincerely. I will reach you somehow. Somehow I will reach you. It's my commitment to humanity. Just don't die within next 3 years. I will reach you wherever you are, whichever corner of the world you may be. I will reach you with enlightenment. You manifesting the space, state, powers, being Paramashivoham. It is possible, and it is possible for you. Paramashiva will reach you with enlightenment science. I know he is going to do the job. Just be alive for next 3 years. Nothing else.
We get you health. We get you ability to build beautiful relationships in your life. We get you direct spiritual support, and we make sure you become wealthy. We won't stop giving you just good life. We will literally not stop till you live enlightened life. Manifesting the state of Paramashiva, space of Paramashiva, powers of Paramashiva, being of Paramashiva. Whole world should become Kailasians.
I want the whole world to know Hindus have something great to contribute to the world. We have something great to contribute to the world. Let us do that.
Kailasa is proper customized spiritual service helping you to identify your root patterns of
Nithyanandam, and welcome back to your viewers. How we just heard from the Kailasa's representative to the United Nations on how Hinduism is a solution and how the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is providing solution, is approaching the United Nations, providing solutions to the problems that the world is facing as a protection and as a protective voice for minorities worldwide and as a protective voice for all the persecuted Hindus worldwide, and how Kailasa is providing a solution and is the voice of 2 billion Hindus, how Kailasa is standing up to protect the rights of Hindus, not just in India, but in Afghanistan and Nepal and Bangladesh, and in places, in countries where Hindus are feeling threatened or where Hindus are feeling insecure. Kailasa is standing up and raising the voice at the place where it is needed the most. So with that, we come to the conclusion of this segment, and the next segment is what is most awaited by each and every one of us, the live darshan of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Jagadguru Mahasannidhanam, His Divine Holiness, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam. So let's all get ready to receive Swamiji, and let's all get ready to receive the 4 powerful initiations at this time of the Surya Grahana, the solar eclipse time. We are being graced and blessed by the presence of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. So now let's all get ready to receive the live darshan of Swamiji. Please sit straight and close your eyes. Bring your awareness to your breathing. Inhale and exhale as slowly as possible and as deeply as possible. Slowly chant the Mahavakya. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. As your whole being melts in gratitude, remembering the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. As your whole being melts in gratitude, remembering how our life has been touched and transformed by the presence of our beloved Swamiji. Let your whole being melt in gratitude, just remembering the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. Let your whole being melt in gratitude, knowing Swamiji is there for us no matter what. Let's all enter into the meditation with the chanting of the Mahavakya. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. In the space of deep gratitude, devotion, and surrender at the divine lotus feet of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Jagadguru Mahasannidhanam, His Divine Holiness Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam.
शिवोऽहम् ॐ नित्यानन्द परमशिवोऽहम् ॐ नित्यानन्द परमशिवोऽहम्